We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Andrew, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And I've still got a tiny bit of remaining congestion, just the tiniest little bit.
Sick.
But I finally had a pretty good sleep last night, and I feel almost completely over it. So there we go. Rob is back to pretty close to good health.
Yeah. I mean, this is like over 2 weeks now. That's crazy.
Well, it's pretty much exactly. Well, no, wait, 3 weeks, I guess, isn't it? No, wait.
Yeah.
What? How does that go? Missed a week.
Well, you were sick
here last
before
week.
a podcast 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
2
that's
weeks.
right. Yeah, no, so it's been 2 weeks. There we go. Yeah, that's how that works. Okay.
So I was right. Just say I was right, and let's just go with that.
You were right.
So somebody asked to see the closets when they were done, and they are not totally done. So the I don't remember what I told you guys because it's been my everything runs into each other. But
yeah,
a short version of the same story I've told to many people is we were at my parents' house, and my wife was like, "Tom, you're selling yourself short. You could totally install these things if you wanted to. You just don't have the tools right now, and you should, but you could do it." All right.
Given the time and energy, sure, I guess.
the woman, our friend, who offered to do it for us for free, which she is not doing it for free because we were going to pay her, but she came over and she started working on it, and it was immediately and abundantly obvious that while I could technically get these things into the wall,
sure,
the level of fit and finish, let's just say the level of the whether or not things would have stayed on the shelves that are in there, or not just rolled off or slid to the sides. It's
not just left to right level; it's also front to back level. That matters when it comes to shelves.
There's the technical expertise required for this. This is not I'm not saying that I couldn't, that any of us couldn't do it. Like, let's be honest here.
Yeah,
any of us could rebuild a transmission on the car.
Yeah, this is a purely mechanical thing. If you are careful enough and take enough time, it could be done by you. Sure,
that's right. But it is not the project you start with.
Gotcha.
You don't say, "I just bought a car. I'm going to take the transmission out and rebuild it." Yeah. You say, "I just bought a car. I'd like to change my own oil." So,
or even just start with changing a tire. Many people have not even changed a tire, at least not in many years.
That's right.
So there you go.
So it is abundantly clear that this was, there were so many things that needed to be, addressed and looked at and to be taken into consideration that would never have crossed my mind. I'd been like, "Hey, it's in there," and I'm now done. I think, So she worked most of the day, maybe 5 or 6 hours on Friday.
Okay.
Probably 8 or 9 on Saturday. Ooh. And 2 closets are two of the 3 are completely done.
Okay.
And the third one is started, but barely.
Holy smokes. That is a lot of work then.
It is a lot of work. So there's the picture that Rob may or may not be showing you right now.
I can show it right now. I was waiting for a thing to say the reveal, but there it is. I mean, obviously, we're only looking at one of the closets in this.
Yes, that is my master closet. Our closet is very small. And it is, if you think of a walk-in closet, it is half of a walk-in closet, which, like a normal closet that would be wider than it is deep. This is like that, but it's deeper than it is wide. The way they had it set up before is they had 2 rows, up high. They had 2 those wire shelves.
Okay. Yeah.
On either, one on either side of the closet. And when you hung clothes on those wire shelves, because they have a little lip that comes down, you can put a hanger on there. You could not walk through the center. Yeah. The clothes were touching each other.
Yeah.
That's how narrow this is. I think the little half wall that you can kind of see on the left there, the little indent, is only about 16 inches deep. Okay. And then the right side has almost nothing. It's maybe 3 or 4 inches on that right side.
You need those folding in hingers from Simone Yetch. She like invented those specifically for the my closet is actually narrower than I thought problem. So you put it on the hanger, and then you can fold the hanger in half like hot dog style, so that it's it would it folds your clothes in half and lets you put the back of the hanger directly against the wall. That's like It's a good invention.
So this, so what you're seeing here is right after she finished the install. I don't even think that's fully got all the there's like things that cover holes and that are wood looking things that go on there. So this is, if you go to the Container Store, this would be a barely step up from their most basic thing that they sell. So the drawers are all wire mesh, but we upgraded because it wasn't that much money to have. So the shelves were actually wood looking. They're not actually wood. I'm sure they're just facade or whatever, but they look like wood. And but otherwise it's just wire, just normal like wire shelving, but it has like a plastic cover that goes on top of it so things don't fall through too easily. Which makes it a little bit nicer. So this is, you can see actually where some of the holes in the wall where the wire rack was. You can see kind of like and since then, my wife has gone and watched a couple of YouTube videos. Again, she's not painting the Mona Lisa, right? She's spackling, and she started with spackling and painting some holes that were in the wall. And it's so, honestly, I know where they were, and I still can't find them. I walk. There's not enough light in there, really, with all the shelves in the way and stuff like that. I still can't find them. She did such a good job. But again, she didn't start with carving, Michelangelo's David. She started with patching a couple holes in the closet, right? I'm very comfortable painting rooms and stuff like that, and cutting in the corners and the edges and the roof and all that, and molding and all that stuff. But I'm not going to start trying to paint the outside of a house and with a sprayer and everything else. So it came out. We're really happy with how it's coming out. My son's closet is done. The closet that's in this room that I'm in right now is the one that's not done. That's why there's still a ladder behind me, because it's really freaking tall.
There is a ladder behind Tom. Yeah,
she needs a ladder.
It was
to get
moved
to the top.
since last week, folks. It's
been back, all over this house.
It's back where it was.
It's just somehow wound up back in here, which I'm a little disappointed about. But it is here. But it is going well. We're really super happy. We have not moved everything into that closet yet. What I'm basically doing
is anything on the right-hand side, like just the angle that you took the photo we can't see? So it's just a wall on the right-hand side then?
On the right-hand side, there's just a wall. But so on the left-hand side, you can see... actually, I don't know what you can see because I'm not looking. Right,
it's the majority of the organizer there. So we got looks like drawers that can slide out on the bottom.
There's drawers. On the right side of those drawers, you can actually hang. There's a bar to hang close. There's a space down there. Then there's shelves going up from the first bank of drawers all the way to the top, and the second bank and to the right of that is all hanging stuff. And there's two things of hanging stuff on that. What would be?
Is there anywhere to hang like really long things?
Not in this closet.
Okay.
Not in this closet. My wife almost wears no long dresses.
Gotcha.
It's very rare that she does.
I guess long winter coats aren't really a thing in Florida, so
you'd be surprised how little we wear that sort of stuff. So I believe in this closet, in this room, we put a place for long dresses. And stuff to be, because she almost never wears them, so why have it in that itty-bitty closet that we have? Then on the right side there that you can see, what would be the back wall, there's two more things to hang things from, and then on the bottom, those are both, I don't know why we did this, shoe racks. That's just ridiculous, because I'm the only one that really owns a bunch of shoes.
Oh, really?
My wife never puts anything away, so they're putting shoe racks down there. I mean,
so you see,
I had to walk over 3 pairs of her shoes in the kitchen to get here. So
if this were my sister's closet, you could just remove all the shelves and hangers, stack shoes from top to bottom, front to back, the entire thing, and then find another 2 closets. That might work for my sister.
I love shoes. I have a problem. Like, my problem is that I can't afford all the shoes I want to have. But we have been shoe shopping, and my wife's like, oh, well, if you buy one, you get the second one for whatever. I'm like, I can find one.
There you go.
There's no world in which I cannot walk out of here with another pair of shoes. I absolutely can.
Okay.
I love buying shoes. I love shoes. I don't necessarily, and all the stereotypes that you think of people who love shoes, like they buy them and don't wear them. That is also me.
Yep.
I buy them and I wear them. I'm like, oh, these are too nice to wear right now, and I'm saving them for something.
Yep.
I love shoes. I do, and I can't explain to you why, but I just do, and I don't care.
That is an affinity that I can't personally understand. I'm like, I need more than one pairs of shoes for different functions. But I'm like, if I have a distinct function for which I need specific footwear, then okay, that's the shoes I'll buy. And I don't think I've bought another pair of shoes in some cases 20 years because that particular function maybe only happens once every 2-3 years, and I don't need to buy more shoes. So yeah.
So yes, I have now, because of the storms. I wasn't sure what survived and things went into storage before I saw what they were. I have duplicate pairs of shoes now, which also makes me happy. So now I have 2 pairs of black dress shoes, and the style is slightly different. And I'm like, yes.
I mean, dress shoes, I could see having more than one pair for sure, because
I have 2 pairs of black dress shoes. They're almost exactly the same style, but slightly different. And then I have a brown pair of dress shoes as well. And then I have what I would consider to be
loafers,
dressy sneakers, or dressy, like Sketcher. I think I got a pair of Vans
with the nice jeans instead of the worn out jeans. Yeah.
Yes, and then I have my running shoes that will never run.
Tom, we don't need to list every pair of shoes you have. This you only got a 2-hour podcast. This is
very exciting for me. Put me on the shoe. Where's the shoe podcast?
There must be shoe podcasts.
There must be.
I've never gone looking, but there's
invite
me. For everything.
I do not have nearly enough shoes because my wife was like, "You're not getting any more shoes." I'm like,
Okay. Well, this is good ammunition, because anytime you bug me about owning too many TVs and AV receivers that are in storage, I mean, this is easy to fire.
Exactly. So we all have our thing, and
we do.
Anyways, so yes, this is what's been going on this week. I also went out to Clint's house and picked up some tools. So now I finally have tools, except that I still need like drill bits and things to go in, to make the tools work. Yep. Like if I need an impact an impact wrench, and because he gave me a socket set, an impact socket set as well, I am set. He hooked me up with that, but otherwise I need to. In fact, I'm planning on going to the store today to go buy something, because I need to install some shelves as well.
Okay,
but these will be basic shelves, just wooden.
Good. Progress is happening.
It is so close. Things are going very well, and we're very, very happy about that.
Excellent.
What's been going on with you?
Yeah, so last week we recorded on Tuesday, and I had mentioned how my aunt had been in the hospital.
Right.
And so I said on the podcast we didn't know exactly when she would be coming home, but that I was expecting it to be at some point last week. Well, it was Tuesday. It was after we recorded,
really?
And it was actually late in the afternoon, so it wasn't like immediately after we recorded, but there was essentially no warning. Got a call from the hospital like, hello, yes, your aunt is being discharged today. And we're like, okay, how is she getting home? They're like, oh, we've arranged for a hospital transport, but we don't know exactly what time they'll come and pick her up. Like, okay. And it's like, how about new medications? Oh, those will get faxed over to the pharmacy. You can pick those up. It's like, how much are you supplying her for when you send her home? Oh, just tonight's. So it's like, oh, so I have to pick up those pills tonight then, you're saying? It's like, that's not exactly like a casual thing, but all right, that's fine.
You might want to head in there, because if she doesn't get this medication, the bad things could happen, but it's up to you.
And then they're like, we'll call once we know what time the hospital transport is. So they did. An hour and a half after the hospital transport had already picked her up and left. So she was already back home by the time we found out she was out of the hospital. But that's okay, because she's in assisted living. So yes, the staff was there, and that all worked out okay. So might also recall last Tuesday evening is when my family had our Thanksgiving dinner. So it wasn't a super rush, because thankfully our pharmacy is open till 10 p.m. So I was able to pick up the new prescriptions after we had finished our family dinner and get those over to her for Wednesday morning in time. So that all worked out. It was all okay. But also had a fun little thing, because over at my parents' house, several years ago, back when my mom was in hospital for nearly a year, and then came home, it was expected that she was going to be wheelchair bound. She isn't. She's able to walk on her own, which was not expected. But we got a wheelchair lift installed at my parents' house so that she'd be able to get to the upstairs from the outside landing. Now, that's been very handy because one of my other aunts doesn't, like, she's not paralyzed, but, you know, uses a wheelchair. And then for another one of my aunts, she uses a walker now, so it's definitely easier if we can use that wheelchair lift to get her up. So that wheelchair lift, as all home installed wheelchair lifts needs to be repaired every time it's used. It seems like that just seems to be the common thing with home wheelchair lifts. It's been kind of nothing but problems, but nevertheless, when we have our sort of annual family get-togethers, we make sure that that's all repaired ahead of time, and it was. So it was just kind of funny because as soon as I arrived with one of my other aunts, the aunt who uses a walker, once we got over there, it's like, yep, my dad was having troubles with the wheelchair lift. They had already got my other aunt inside who came in a wheelchair. Thankfully, that part worked, but yes, it was beeping away. So my sister's there, and she's like, my dad's getting frustrated because the thing's like beep, beep, beeping, and it's not moving properly, and it's stuck there and making weird noises. So my sister's like, just let Rob deal with it. I'm like, oh yeah, I just show up. Just let Rob fix it. Sure, that's just how it goes. I did fix it. Turns out the emergency stop was like halfway stuck in, and you have to like twist it to loosen it to have it come back out. You can't just like push in, pull out. So anyway, that's all it turned out to be. But there you go. I did manage to fix that. So there you go. Family stuff is like relatively stable for the time being. I am researching long-term care for my aunt who just got home from hospital, but that hasn't happened yet. Not moving just yet, but everything is sort of stabilized and everybody's back where they should be. So good news on that front. And then in personal news, I made a big mistake. I decided to go ahead and upgrade my current iPhone to iOS 26, mainly just because I wanted to get used to it ahead of. I am planning to get an iPhone 17 to replace because my current one, the battery dies within 8 hours. It's been 3 years since I got my last phone. So, upgraded to iOS 26. Oh my goodness. If I thought the battery was bad before, this thing, it's like, I don't know. I was maybe 2 hours into my day and it was down to about 55%. I'm like, what did you do, Apple? What did you do? Well, how is the battery being drained this ridiculously just from the iOS updates? So I never seem to learn my lesson. I always say I'm going to wait for the version 0.1 when they've worked out a lot of the bugs and all that stuff. But I got ahead of myself because I wanted to get used to it. Don't do it, folks. Do as I say, not as I do. Never, ever install the iOS update as soon as it's available, which I didn't. I waited a while. I waited until the 0.0.1 version, but not the 0.1 version that it works out the actual bugs. So there we go.
I don't think that's a bug. I think that's a feature.
It sure seems to be.
They're doing that on purpose. 1,000,000%. Right. They've only done it a ton of times. I got a friend of mine who like is constantly worried about like, well, I can't get that app because they track your stuff.
Right.
I'm like, you have an iPhone. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, but you have an iPhone. I don't know what to tell you, man. It just doesn't get much. I mean, I don't know. You're worried about being tracked? Like, you're being tracked.
It's not like switching over to Android is going to make that better.
I know, exactly. I'm like, you have a phone, period. But, to sit there and pretend that Apple isn't, like, listening to your every conversation is just ridiculous. So what did you watch this week, Rob?
Yes, indeed. I did watch a movie this week, which was a movie that came out last year called Kinds of Kindness. And so this was another one written and directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. You'd know him as the writer-director of Poor Things and The Lobster and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. So he definitely has a particular style and loves to take a theme and run with it. Right. And not entirely differently from Poor Things, which actually came out in the same year, so two movies from the same writer-director in the same year, dealing with just sort of the idea that got stuck in his head for when he was making those things of like, what if you just didn't care about conforming to societal convention? What if you just sort of ignored that type of thing and acted in a in this case, not exactly the complete and utter selfish freedom of the character in Poor Things. This is dealing with a different take on that sort of subject, but that similar sort of idea. What if we didn't just adhere to regular societal norms? So this movie, Kinds of Kindness, is 3 short films in one. It's a nearly 3-hour-long movie in total. And what they did is they took a group of players, a group of actors. So this is Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, Hong Chow, and Mamadou Ati. And so in each of the 3 short films, they play different characters, completely different characters. So this isn't tying things all together by sharing the actors. They are 3 separate vignettes with 3 separate casts, like characters, but all played by the same cast across all 3. And so yes, this is taking on basically, what if your identity was entirely your employment? What if your identity was entirely your marriage? And what if your identity was entirely your religion? And those are the 3 that we go through.
I mean, there's people in the world that are exactly like that. I mean, all 3 of those things.
Definitely, yeah.
I know them. I know them. I have had drinks with them. Yeah.
I sort of looked up a couple different reviews after I watched this movie because, if you are trying to... If you want to come into this movie and just be presented with a coherent plot, forget it, because that is not what this is. And it's not one of those movies where it's 3 different stories, but it all ties together in some nice, neat little bow at the end. Nope, it's not that. This is just exploration of a theme. And my interpretation, which I didn't look, it's not like I saw every review and take of it that's out there, so maybe somebody else had the same thought, but of the few that I checked out, nobody else interpreted it the way I interpreted it. I thought it was reasonably clear, especially in the second story that was told in this movie, that so there's like a definite protagonist character. We're seeing things from their point of view, and so in each of the 3. And so to me, it seemed pretty clear that what we're really doing is following 3 different mentally ill people, and everything that we're hearing in the dialogue is how they interpret what's being said. It's not literal, because, I mean, especially in the second one, there's 2 characters in particular. In the second one, we're following a police officer. Jesse Plemons is playing a police officer in there, but his whole identity is his marriage with his wife who has gone missing. She's a researcher who was on an island doing some research, and then something happened and they couldn't get in touch with the team, and she's been missing for like almost a year along with the rest of her team. And so he's just become completely fixated and obsessed with that, which you could totally understand. But when we're hearing like his police captain and when we're hearing the police psychologist that works with him, like, their dialogue is so weird and their delivery is so strange. I'm like, are these the worst actors ever? Like, obviously, because everybody else is so good in this cast. It's like, no, clearly that was a very like deliberate choice for them to sound that way. And it's because, like, particularly where it became really clear to me is when talking with the police psychologist, it's like, we're definitely just hearing as the audience the way he interprets what he hears from this person. So it's like, you should be taking these pills. Here is the routine that you should be following. Here are the things you can do. Here are the things you can't do. And we hear all of those things said by other characters, but not by the psychologist himself. When the psychologist speaks, all we hear is, these pills aren't that important, and you can kind of do what you want, and I don't really think you did anything wrong. And it's just like, there's no way a psychologist was actually saying those things to him, but that's the way he took it, and it's just like completely dismissive of this guy, and everything he says is just stupid, and his police captain is like a dunce. So it's just like, that's clearly the way he's hearing the world. And so that made me think back to the first short story that was told that was all about the identity is entirely your job. And it's like, oh, okay, so now that makes more sense, because his boss, who was played by Willem Dafoe in that one, is like this, like, controlling to the point of absurdity, right? Like, it tells him exactly what he should eat and exactly what he should wear and exactly where he should go and everything he should say. And it's like, but you can think back after seeing the second one and picture like, oh, the people who everything they tell you is exaggerated. Like, my boss came in and screamed at me today, and it's did they really scream at you, or is like, are you just exaggerating for effect? Or it's like, they kind of said, hey, there was an error in your last report. It's like, why are you getting on me? So it's like, it's kind of that sort of thing. But of course, we're seeing it from his point of view. So it's like, it's literal as far as we're seeing on the screen. Like, they actually say the things that would have been told as an exaggeration.
Are these stories told sequentially, or do they overlap?
They don't overlap at all. They are one at a time. And my interpretation of it is that they were actually out of chronological order as well. Because there is one character that we only know by the initials RMF that does show up in all three. Doesn't have any dialogue, that one character, but that is the one character that shows up across all three. But the only way it would chronologically make sense, if this is even taking place all in the same world at the same time or anything like that, is if but if that is the case, and that really is the same RMF character across all three, then the second story actually happened first, and then the first story happened second, and then the third story happened third. And there are a bunch of things that make me think that was intentional, because they play with like, oh, sometimes the initials of his name are like misinterpreted, and it's like everything is jumbled up and a little bit out of sequence or just slightly misinterpreted. So also RMF most likely just stands for random MRFer, because that's sort of what's being done there. But then it can also might stand for like religion, marriage, function, because that sort of works along with the themes of what the stories are. So there's a lot of that. It's all thematic. It's all kind of cute, and whether you want to interpret that way or not is up to you.
Like Oscar bait? Is that what we're looking at here?
I don't. I mean, to a certain crowd, this definitely isn't going to appeal to everybody in any way. But it's very much artistically done. Now, I loved the score of this. I mean, all in all, this actually is kind of a dark comedy. Everything that goes on is done kind of tongue-in-cheek, humorous. At least I found it quite humorous, a lot of it. And the score is hilarious, because they have these, it's like discordant piano through most of it. But then they have this choir that comes in, and like during the dramatic moments, and it's like, it's meant to be for dramatic effect, but then they have the choir singing like hilarious little phrases or words. It was almost Deadpool like, when the Juggernaut showed up and you have that choir. It's like, it was pretty much that type of take. So
if you don't remember that scene, then I don't think you were listening to the music, because it's definitely
that's right.
We can't repeat it here. I'll put it to you that way.
And so I found the score hilarious. And then there was another little tidbit, which is that every single one of these stories has a prominent part of the story where one of the characters describes a dream that they had. That's a common thing that happens in each of these. And then, like I say, my interpretation was we're watching three mentally ill people. We're seeing everything the way they interpret things. And so each of the three stories has a little credits sequence at the end of each of the three, where they just tell you which actor played each character. And like I say, it's the same actors across all three, but the characters all have different names. So they just put those credits up. And when you see the end of the third sequence, you'll be like, hey, that didn't seem to like work, because the other two had quote unquote happy endings for the characters. Everything is like, oh, it definitely came at a tremendous cost, but ultimately the characters got what they wanted in those first two stories. And then the third one, you're like, hey, that didn't end the same way, but it did, because they actually put up the credits of here are the actors and the characters that they played. They put those up at the moment where the character in the third story does get what she wants. And it's the same thing, tremendous cost, but she ultimately gets what she wants. And then it just carries on from there to show you like, oh no, that's not, obviously life doesn't just end at that moment. It's like, no, it went on, and it's like some of that cost and consequence carries forward. And that is because all of these are like, right, it's dealing with what are the kinds of kindness, and is kindness really kindness? It all depends on how you interpret it. And so that ending is there for us, the audience. It's like, here's a kindness to the audience. Is it actually kind? Because everything else makes you question whether these kindnesses are actually kind or not. But here, this end one is for you, the audience. And so, I mean, all of that is my interpretation of it. As you can tell, I was reasonably taken with this movie. I loved Poor Things. I didn't love this as much as I loved Poor Things. But yeah, if you're looking for the plot to make sense or anything like that, forget it. It's not that type of movie. This definitely has to be viewed on a thematic and on a playing with the audience type of realm. But if you're into that sort of thing, you might enjoy Kinds of Kindness.
All right. Well, I finished just in time for the second season to come out. It's not out yet, but by the time you're hearing this podcast, it will be. Nobody Wants This, which is the Kristen Bell and that other guy, the guy.
I don't know this show, so I can't help you on this one.
I'm gonna have to look it up now, because I just did, and it will not take me long. So
okay.
Anyways, Adam Brody is the other main lead.
Okay.
So
you did mention that before, and I forgot.
Yes, I finished the first season with my wife this weekend, which was. it's an interesting series. I actually think it somehow got better as it went along. I don't really understand quite why I believe that.
Maybe you just got more and more into the show. That's pretty normal.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shows where the first episode, I'm like, I don't know. And by the end, I love it. So.
Yeah. I don't think that was quite it. I think that there was something different with the cinematography, with the filming of it.
Oh, I see.
Everybody, I felt like, in particular, Kristen Bell was filmed at some very poor angles in the very first couple of episodes, and then they got better at filming her towards the end, and she looked more normal. Like, if you see her, if you see any of these people really in real life, you're like, oh. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but they just don't look like themselves, because when they're on the screen, they have people and lighting and makeup and, the camera, the camera operators and the film directors and stuff like that have the ability to put them into the best possible light.
And it's the whole being photogenic and telegenic is not exactly the same as looking really good in real life. Sometimes there are people who you see them in real life and like, whoa, they're gorgeous. And then every photo of them, you're like, they don't look as good in their photos as I know they look in real life. And then the other way around as well. So, yeah.
And, we've talked a little bit about this on this podcast from time to time, but about the whole, the camera adds 10 or 20 pounds or whatever people say. And it's all because of the lack of depth. You can't tell that, on the screen, that there is depth to the person, so therefore, as wide as their leg is, looks like that. That's
right. I've definitely noticed when you see 3D movies, right? The actual stereoscopic, actually shot in stereoscopic, not just the after, processing, but the actually shot in stereoscopic. You're like, my God, their legs are skinny. Like all actors are walking around on tiny little sticks because that's just what you have to do to be two-dimensionally look normal.
Yes, and that's what. What that means is that when you see these people in real life, a lot of times you're like, oh my God, I need a sandwich. Are you okay? Can I buy you a sandwich? I'll buy you a sandwich right now.
When you look skinny in a movie, like, wow, you must be skinny.
You must be like Zoe Saldana in particular. Every time I look at her, I'm like, geez. And in real life, she must just be.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any claims about whatever. I'm just saying that's what I think of. Anyways, so she started looking better as the movie went on. I mean, as the series went on, I think because they were able to film her from better angles or whatever. It's a great series. I highly recommend it. It's my wife really liked it. The characters are all engaging. It's mostly believable. I think believable enough. You have to make a couple of I'm in LA and I keep running into the same people. I lived in LA. That doesn't happen. That happens here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I run into the same people all the time. Like there's a lot of people here, but we all shop at the same stores somehow.
Okay.
I don't really know how it happens. I just run into people constantly. But that never happened in Los Angeles, ever. The place is too big. My only knock is that the end of the last episode, I felt like they weren't sure if they were going to get a second season.
Sure.
Which is fair enough.
Yep.
So they wanted to end it in a way that there would be some resolution.
It could be the end if it needed to be.
Yeah. And I did not like that.
Okay.
I knew there was a second season coming, but they obviously could not have known that when they were filming it. So it looked like they were going towards an ending that was not necessarily a cliffhanger, but unresolved.
Okay.
More realistic to real life, because that's what because the whole idea, the premise of the show is that he is a rabbi and she is not religious and somehow makes money. First of all, the most unbelievable thing of this entire thing is that she's making money doing a podcast, which is not how that works.
I mean, there are people who do, but yes.
But they are nobody.
Percentage. It is a small percentage.
Most of the people who are making money on podcasts are making it because they were already famous.
They were already comedians. And
yes.
Yeah.
These two women who are sisters, Kristen Bell and her sister, the person who plays her sister, are making it because they talk about sex.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So she's...
None of those exist else.
Yeah, right.
No others about that.
So nobody wants this. The whole kind of premise is that, in both of their lives, nobody understands why their relationship is working or why they are attracted to each other because they're so different. So the obvious end of the first season is them to break up or for things to go horribly awry. Which is what I would have done if I had written it, but I didn't write it. So they gave a resolution at the end. It's not exactly like a fairy tale ending sort of thing, but there is a resolution that kind of happens at the end of the first season. So I didn't love that part of it, but we'll see what the second season looks like. I think it makes the second season actually harder to write. In my opinion, because it would be better if things had kind of fallen apart and then you have an entire next season to start putting it back together and having them. Instead, they kind of ended still kind of together, I guess is the best way I can say it. But it's certainly worth watching. I would recommend it. My wife really liked it. What
service was that found on?
Netflix. Yes, that's a Netflix original.
Alrighty.
Let's get to the podcast. This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. Get your questions answered. All you have to do is ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. You go to the website, find our shows or show notes or links to products or articles that we refer to during the answering of your question, as well as a link to a Flickr album so you can follow along with the pictures that we'll be referencing. People send us in their pictures of their rooms or their speakers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Rob sometimes puts up pictures of the products he's talking about so that you can see
once in a while.
He's referring to. Facebook.com/AVRant podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant. YouTube is the live show recording, so you'll see the pictures in there. You can play it in the background and glance over whenever you say, I don't understand what this room looks like. Why does it look so funny? Or something like that. Or is that a speaker in the corner or is that the dead body? So you want to contact Rob directly. It's rob@avrant.com. His socials is @FirstReflect. I'm Tom@avrant.com. I want to thank our listeners of the week. To become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. Do that by going to avrant.com, clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and sending us a PayPal donation. And we had Dan do that this week. So thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for that PayPal donation. We really appreciate that financial support.
If you want to support us monthly and not have to think about it, you can sign up on patreon.com/AVRant podcast to become a patron. And we currently have 127 patrons. So thank you very much to all of our 127 patrons.
That's right. Once again, that is patreon.com/AVRant podcast if you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So big thanks to our 127 patrons over there.
If you can't support us financially, support us in some other way, and we will mention you here. So Infinite Gary and Kurt sent in some movie codes for me to test, and I tested them, and they worked. So Kurt in particular sent me Superman, the new Superman movie, as well as the new Fantastic Four movie.
Okay, yeah. Superman was last week, Fantastic Four this week. Very nice.
Very excited about that, I'm going to be honest with you.
The one Infinite Gary sent was something good, too. Oh, it was the latest Mission Impossible, so I'm sure you haven't seen that yet either. So, yeah, very nice.
I don't think I've seen the one before that either. So, But I somehow, through this process, have had people send me codes to almost every single Mission Impossible movie. So I have almost the entire...
I mean, for a home theater crowd, they're pretty obviously popular.
They're pretty
movies,
obvious.
So that makes sense, yeah.
So thank you, Infinite Gary and Kurt.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Kurt. Yeah.
Saucy offered, and I just saw this email, by the way. Saucy offered to buy me the Ultra HD Blu-ray Steelbook of The Crow if I'm willing to share my new address, which I am. Saucy has already sent me stuff, including a Harmony remote. But that was to the apartment that I was living in. I this morning I had to go over to my old house and do the lawn, and I'm just so glad I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
The roads are destroyed.
There's my goodness.
People because of all the salt water and for the trucks going in and out. Houses are for sale everywhere. There's a lot of houses being raised, and some of them, as they raise them, look pretty good. And we were kind of talking about this last week.
In this case, raised meaning elevated, not torn down. Yeah, because that word raised homonym can mean two
There's a lot of them being raised as well. There's lots of empty lots and bulldozers around. Some of them are going up and looking pretty good. And some of them are going up and looking exactly like somebody put a
damaged house on stilts.
On stilts.
Yeah,
and they have to be high too because of the the requirements of the floodplain and everything else, they're like 11 feet off the ground. I mean, they are up there. So without
that's more than a whole story being added underneath as stilts. That is weird.
So if you build a house, if you build it out underneath, you have usually like a multi-car garage and a big storage area down there, but you can't really have any. You're not supposed to have any living.
Right. Yeah.
You can't insure anything that's that for a living space, air conditioned space down there. But some of these places are not looking great, and I'm just like, what are you gonna? I mean, are you planning on dying in this house? Because that's literally no one else is going to want this.
I mean, at the same time, I can financially, I can understand having made that choice, because in Medicare, what else do you do? So I get it. Yeah.
I mean, so for the cost of raising the house, of picking it up off the ground and raising it, if you do have, there is like I told you guys, there is a grant program called Elevate Florida, which is people are applying for, and some people are getting. That will seriously mitigate the cost. But if you don't, you're looking at between depending on the size of the house and stuff, but around $200,000 or more to you cannot buy a house in this area for that. That just does not exist. Right. So it is not like an either or proposition. But if your house was already but if your house was already flooded and destroyed by the floods, then the insurance money, people do not really understand how insurance works. You think, oh, my house burnt down, I have fire insurance, they buy me a new house. That is not how it works. It is. There's all sorts of things, hoops you have to jump through and everything else, and they give you some amount of money based on the amount of coverage you paid for, which you did not pay for. I can now go out and buy $1 million house. That's not. No. It's not what you paid for. So you're only going to get up to the amount of money that your insurance,
minus your deductibles and all of that.
Minus the deductibles, but also you have to show that what was burnt up, or in this case flooded, was worth all that. Yeah. And it's not an easy process. So you are not going to come out of this on the other side and have enough money to rebuild the inside. No. Even if you cut all the corners that you can and also raise the house. It's just not going to happen. So it ends up being a huge out-of-pocket expense. Yeah. So I'm happy with what we did, but I understand other people having to do what they're doing. So good on them. So yes, Saucy, I will send you my address.
Yes, thank you, Saucy, for the Steelbook Blu-ray. Out of all of that, that's what we were actually talking about originally. Yes.
So Jason gave permission for me to use his photos on avgadgets.com. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
And we got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from Jason, Mosin, and Saucy. So thank you for thanking us.
That's right. Those names one more time were Jason, Mosin, and Saucy. Thank you very much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
So we said, this is in the news. So we said we want to talk about the Sofabaton X2 remote again until we had review units in hand, but there's been a significant change. The X2 is now available for pre-order, which is good, but doesn't necessarily mean anything because we've seen. I think from Sofabaton, I trust them a little bit more because they've come through. But there's definitely been times that people have pre-ordered things and they come out significantly. They have a note on that page saying that the expected ship date is between 15 and 30 days from now. So that's what they're estimating. And every day you read that, it goes one day further out. Could add another 2 weeks. Add another 2 weeks. Yeah. So the R1 infrared repeater for the X2 remote can be purchased right now. So we've got official prices. So it's $380 for the X2 remote, $50 for the why is this so hard to read? R1 IR repeater. If you look at that, it looks like the same thing back to back.
Looks like a palindrome. Yeah.
Yes. But everything at Sofabaton is on sale nearly perpetually, and the X2 pre-order has early bird pricing. So right now it's $330 to order an X2. That comes with the remote itself, its charging cradle, and the Sofabaton hub. And then the R1 IR repeater is on sale for $40. Yep. You can also save an additional $9.99 by buying the X2 and the R1 together as a bundle, $360 altogether instead of $370 separately. Okay, that makes sense. It took me a second to parse that.
Yep, that math. The
Sofabaton X2,
The
us
U2
backlit. What
No,
is this?
So that's supposed to be the U2 and the U2 backlit. Yeah. I don't know how that
Okay.
2 turned into an S, but there you go.
Okay, I'm a little confused. I'm going to change this so I can read it again. There we go. So the Sofabaton U2, the U2 backlit, X1, the X1S remotes are all on sale right now as well. And the listing for the R1IR repeater includes a little Easter egg. It mentions it would also be compatible with the U3 remote. So it seems we have that to look forward to. So there you go. Any day now. That'll be coming
That's
out.
right. But I mean, it is a good sign. And as Andrew over at AV Gadgets almost certainly has surmised correctly, he's like, yeah, the hardware seems to be done. It's ready. It's here. It's landed. They're ready to go with the hardware. This all seems to be that they're waiting on most likely Apple at this point to certify the new software that goes along with it, because that is a whole process. I mean, they just did the whole iOS update. There's oodles and oodles and oodles of apps waiting to be approved for their updates. They do have to issue an update to that Sofabaton app. So it is almost certainly the delays that they're experiencing are software related at this point, because the hardware is ready to go.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, when I was at Clint's house, we went up to his theater, which is in the bonus room upstairs, and he has a Sofabaton. I don't remember which one he has, but he loves it. He absolutely loves it. He goes, it controls everything.
Yeah.
He goes, it's so good. It's like I press one button, lights go down, and this happens, and this happens. He goes, once I got it programmed,
Yep.
It's been flawless ever since, and he's very happy. And he was a Harmony user for years and years and years, so very happy with it. All right, let's get to the questions here. Ryan has a head scratcher of a question that is kind of driving him nuts. Let's skip this, and we can do this next week, because I feel like this is a little long, and I don't want to get bogged down.
Are you being serious?
You don't mind? You don't mind, Ryan, right?
Oh, I see.
You
Okay.
don't mind.
You're not being serious. Thank you.
Not being serious.
That was pretty good acting, Tom. I wasn't quite sure at first. I usually
Hey,
know.
man, I do a bunch of acting. That's kind of sort of my hobby these days. You've seen Whose Line Is It Anyways? I've told you about the improv group that I'm with, but they have 3 main shows that go on every week. There's the Runaway Train, which is like the entry level improv people are part of that show. The Grind, which is like the mid level, and that's the show I've been in for the last 6 months. And then the Whose Line show, which is the top tier. I just got bumped up to the Whose Line show. So
congratulations.
I did two Whose Line shows this last weekend, back to back. I was exhausted. Anyways, Ryan. He has 2 SVS SB17 Ultra subwoofers. Well, there's your problem right there. What you need to do is send one of those to me.
Yeah, I'm sure you got room for that.
I do not.
As a sealed sub.
I did get a couch. Did I tell you I got a couch?
Yeah,
I got
you
a
mentioned
couch.
the couch last week. Yeah,
I did.
Okay. Yeah.
It's already got
The
dog
2
slobber
double
on it.
wides side by side.
I'm a little irritated by the dog slobber. I have to wipe that off.
Yeah.
One is positioned in the front of his room, the other's in the back. He's using a Denon X4500H receiver with Odyssey Multi-QXT32, and since he took the time to measure all of his speakers using Room EQ Wizard, he discovered that his optimal crossover frequencies are actually higher than 80 hertz. So his front towers and center have been manually set to small with 100 hertz crossover after Odyssey did its thing. His surrounds are 110, and his overhead speakers are 120.
That all sounds very reasonable to me and entirely likely and possible.
I can see no problems in this.
That's right.
I don't even understand why you're writing. To start with, playing 2-channel music in stereo listening mode, he's using a Weem device as his audio source with his front 2 speakers. Let me try this again. His 2 front tower speakers and his 2 SVS subs actives, everything that sounds exactly the way he expects it to, no problems at all. But then when he switches to multi-channel and watches a movie, something seems to change. He noticed it with the trailer for a movie called Code 3, which I've never heard of, but I'm sure it's very good. Or bad. It's one of those things. He used his Apple TV 4K to play the trailer, and he noticed that what sounded like muffled voices coming from his subs. That particular trailer is the only time he's actually noticed this phenomenon from his primary seat. With all of the movies, when he's sitting in the seat, he's never noticed the issue before. But this weird experience with the trailer got him to double-check his system, and if he puts his ear right up next to either of his subwoofers, he now realizes he can hear muffled voices coming from his subs. Mostly male voices, especially deep voices, but sometimes some female voices too. He figured it was probably because he has manually raised the crossovers above 80 hertz, did a ton of experiments. And even with the crossover frequency lowered down to 40 hertz, you could still hear muffled voices coming from both of his subs if he put his ear right up next to either sub. Well, let him out. There's people trapped in there.
It must be. They're in your TV too.
What other? Tell you what, I feel like that would be the solution a flat earther would come to.
Yeah.
Like, clearly there can be no other explanation that there are small people trapped inside your subwoofers. You must let them out. He tried using the SVS app to sell his subwoofers low pass filters. He tried other source devices. He tried Odyssey on versus off. He made sure that LPF or LFE setting on his receiver was left at 120, and the LFE mode is set to LFE only, not LFE plus mains. The muffled voices are always present no matter what, and yet if he switches to stereo listening mode, the voices are not coming from his subwoofers at all. So that's what's bending his brain. He can't say it's genuinely a problem because from a seat, just listening normally, he can't actually notice the muffled voices coming from the subs, and he can never localize anything as coming from the subs instead of the speakers. But it's just very puzzling why no voice sounds come from the subs at all when using stereo listening mode, and why didn't the voices in the subs ever go away even when he manually lowered the crossover frequency? Can we explain? I bet Rob can, but let me take a stab at this first.
Sure.
So, first things first, the Denon has different crossover setting places for stereo listening mode versus Odyssey and everything else.
It is possible to do so. We don't know for sure that that is the case here, but it is possible to make that happen with an X4500H. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of times I've noticed that when I'm with my Denons, you run Odyssey, you get everything all set up, and you go to stereo, and something comes out stereo, and it is different. And it's because the whatever settings you changed did not change for the 2-channel mode.
Right.
So you have to go into 2-channel mode separately and also change the crossovers.
Yeah, that is in the audio section of the setup menu on your Denon. There is a 2-channel listening mode section in there, and that lets you set different parameters that only apply to that stereo listening mode. Like, you have the option on there of, naturally I have my bass management and all of my speakers set to small when it's multi-channel, but some people like when it's 2-channel only and I'm specifically using the stereo listening mode, then I only want my front speakers to play and my subs not to play at all. So they said in that specifically for the 2-channel listening mode, it'll say full range for the front, left, right, and subwoofers will say no. And that doesn't impact what happens when you go back to any of the other multi-channel listening modes. But specifically for the stereo listening mode, it could be different. Or you could have a different crossover. You could still have your front, left, right speaker set to small in there, but a different crossover frequency than the crossover frequency that's used for the multi-channel listening mode. So that is a possibility of what's going on with your system. Like, maybe you've just never checked that 2-channel listening mode, because honestly, why would you, unless something were not working correctly. So yeah, that could be what's happening.
So that would explain to me why you hear it only, well, you don't hear it in stereo listening mode, but you hear it in all the other modes. Now, the other, why, other than there being people trapped in your subs, which I still think is a possibility, there are a couple of other things that could, in theory, be happening. But the one that seems most plausible to me is that if, we think of crossovers as brick walls, and there is, the subwoofer is playing frequencies that are higher than the crossover frequency.
Definitely.
And it's also playing, and your speakers are playing frequencies that are lower than the crossover frequencies. When you say that you have gone and done a ton of tests and you changed to the crossover and lowered it down to 40 hertz, you can still hear these muffled voices coming from your subs. My explanation for that would be, well, did you change all of the crossovers? Because if some of these sounds are being directed, or some of these sounds in general, but voices are being augmented through other speakers within your system.
The surrounds, and you only possibly even the overheads.
Overheads make the most sense to me, like especially if you have front heights. I would think that that's how it's happening. You're getting just a little bit of, high enough, especially at that 120, where it's high enough that at low volumes that you can't normally hear from your seat, because why would it's too far away, and everybody, but usually a bunch of other stuff is playing. You would not notice it, but if you put your ear up to it, you do. Yeah, and that would be my explanation for what.
So I have to say, there is some vocals coming out of my subs like all the time. I have some, like, it's It doesn't sound
Rob's
clear.
apartment is haunted, though, so that's different.
No, it doesn't sound clear. It doesn't sound like it's just my center speaker playing. But if I were to unplug all of my speakers and have only my subwoofers playing, some vocals are coming out of my subs. So that is perfectly normal. Like, as Tom explained, it's not a brick wall, that crossover. You definitely, I mean, your subwoofers are playing all the way up to around 300 hertz. They are playing up there, they're just getting quieter and quieter and quieter as they do that. And you are describing these vocal sounds that you're hearing as muffled, right? They're not clear. It doesn't sound like all the high frequency information is there. Maybe sometimes it sounds like just vowel sounds coming out. That's normal. Like, I'm not surprised by that at all. The only thing that's at all surprising is not hearing any vocal sounds whatsoever when you're in the stereo listening mode, which makes me think that maybe exactly what Tom surmised, that 2-channel listening mode specific setting, maybe it's actually set to full range for the speakers, which doesn't mean that the subwoofers don't produce anything, but it does alter the balance of the sound significantly if the front, left, right are actually set to full range in that specific 2-channel listening mode only. That only applies to the stereo listening mode and when you're choosing your listening mode versus the other ones. So yeah, that to me is almost certainly what's going on here. I can't think of another really viable explanation, but the just like, let me put your mind at ease, right? Having some muffled vocal sounds coming out of your subs is completely normal when there's bass management and a crossover going on, because it's not that they stop at 100 hertz in your case, or 110 or something like that. They don't just stop. It's just getting gradually quieter all the way up to about 300 hertz from your subs. Yeah.
All right, Nate. Nate recently replaced the lamp in his Epson 6050 UB projector. The cooling fan was kicking into its highest setting as soon as he turned it on, which was obviously a lot louder than he could accept since he runs his projector in eco mode. But after the lamp swap, it seems to be fine. He's decided this will be his last lamp replacement, though. Did you clean the filter?
That was my very first thought. I bet you, because it's an Epson, so it does have a filter. It definitely has an air filter, being an Epson projector. And I'll bet you, because you don't have to replace the filter. You can just clean the filter. A little bit of compressed air, a little vacuum cleaner. Put the vacuum cleaner on a lower suction setting so that you don't damage the filter. But you don't have to buy a whole new one. You can just clean that filter, and I'll bet you that filter needs a cleaning.
Yeah, I bet it does too.
Yeah.
So his main question is, which projector do we think he should get to replace his Epson 6050 UB? Price-wise, the new LS9000 is attractive, but you can see his way to an LS11000 or 12000. The current Sonys and JVCs are kind of expensive, though.
So I will just say, definitely, you can buy refurbished directly from Epson, and those are good. Those refurbished ones directly from Epson are in good shape, and they provide them with a brand new lamp when you buy them that way. They're not recycling the lamp from a previous owner if you buy refurbished directly from Epson. So if you look at that, it's still maybe going to be $500 more if you go for a refurbished LS11000 directly from Epson versus a brand new LS9000, but that is certainly going to be an affordable option if you're willing to look at those refurbished. And I would highly recommend them. They're in good shape if they're the ones directly from Epson.
All right. So his main question is, I already said that. So let's get the details of his setup, though. The room is roughly 13 by 16 and a half, and it's 8 feet high at the tallest, which means that there's parts that aren't 8 feet high. It's right. Above the garage, while it does get air conditioned from air from the rest of the second floor. It does not have its own cooling zone, so it's typically a bit hotter in this room than the rest of the house. He put most of the gear in an equipment closet with a Panasonic bathroom fan to remove the heat. Okay, and as mentioned, he runs his projector in eco mode to keep that as quiet and cool as possible as well. Mm-hmm. Projector's at the back of the room with a lens 14 feet from the screen. He went for 120-inch 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio screen. He actually would have preferred a 16 by 9 screen, but the upper edges of the room are angled inwards because of the roofline. He wasn't willing to sacrifice the screen's width, so it had to become a scope screen. It's a DIY made from acoustically transparent spandex with a gain of about 0.7 and mounted on a goalpost-style floor stand. Okay. The room is mostly blacked out, but the carpet is light gray and the doors on the back wall are white. He does intend to address the white doors eventually. He's got a bad back, so the seating is actually a king-size memory foam bed. How is that better? I mean, I just
apparently
can't
for
imagine.
his case.
I can't imagine, but okay. He's got a couple movie theater seats on a platform that he can slide into place behind the bed for anyone who actually wants seats, but it's mostly just him or him and his wife, and the bed is much more comfortable on his back. His eyes end up being 10.5 feet from the screen. I don't understand. I don't understand how that works, but okay. The room
just
is
the bed
strictly,
part, you mean?
yeah, the bed part. Like when I'm in bed looking at TV, my neck hurts, or if I prop myself up a little bit, I'm just like, oh, I'd rather have a couch that reclines a bunch and where you can adjust the headrest and stuff. Than
I won't question this though, because if he's saying this is working for him,
if this is what works for you, I'm
it's
just
his
saying,
body and it makes sense.
yes, your body, your choice, all that stuff. But that's weird. To me, that's very strange. But that's okay. It can't be. Okay, I already read that. The room is strictly about movies and TV shows, no gaming, and frankly, he doesn't care about 4K or HDR. You should about HDR. 1080p and SDR are perfectly fine by him because you don't really experience HDR. Although he does use a Sony X700 Ultra HD Blu-ray player and a Roku Ultra, so 4K and HDR are available. Audio-wise, he's using a AVRant AV7705 Pre-Pro with a 7-channel Outlaw Audio model 7000X amp. Those power Martin Logan Motion Series speakers all around. He doesn't particularly care about the surround backs and might take them down.
They are on either side of those white doors on the back of the wall.
Got himself a pair of 18-inch Rhythmic F18 sealed subs before all of their price increases, and he's got acoustic treatments on all 4 walls, all DIY, using 2-inch thick insulation with a 1-inch air gap. So from the new projector, he wants the same performance or better than what he's got now. The top-notch 1080p SDR performance is a priority. 4K, HDR, and gaming are not really much of a concern to him, so what do we think he should get? I think he should get HDR. I think there's no.
I mean, you're kind of going to get one that's certainly compatible with it.
Yeah, you're not going to really have a choice when it comes down to it.
I think what he's getting at is he has probably heard us and how much I love the frame-by-frame dynamic tone mapping. But to get that, you're either going more expensive in Epson's lineup to get up to their QB1000, because that is the least expensive model from Epson that has frame-by-frame dynamic tone mapping, or you're switching over to Sony or JVC. Yeah, and all of those, the price point is higher. So I think that's why he's driving at, hey, HDR is not my top priority. But, if you get an LS 11,000 or LS 12,000, those are certainly compatible with HDR. Those have the 16-step slider that I think is not a bad compromise at all in terms of, you're getting the lower price point, but, still going to be definitely compatible and honestly look very good with HDR. But yes, some movies by default, they're going to look a little bit washed out or a little bit too dark, but you can adjust that 16-step slider one time for that movie, and there you go. It looks pretty darn good. You just don't have frame by frame. So, I mean, all together, I do think, an LS 12,000, if you're dead set on keeping the chassis black, because that's the difference between the LS 12,000 and the LS 11,000. Now, people are going to point to in Epson's own specs that the LS 11,000 is spec'd as having not quite as high contrast, like native panel contrast, as the LS 12,000, but just look at Projector Central or Projector Reviews and the actual live reviews that they did with real units, and they're like, yeah, it is nigh impossible to actually see a contrast difference in practice. But in your case, I might see you saying, hey, I just really want the black chassis. So fair enough, it's going to come with the higher specs too. Like I say, if you go refurbished from Epson with an LS 12,000, which are available, I think that's probably going to be the very best balance of everything. I'm maybe one of the more forgiving when it comes to that LS 9000 than a lot of the other folks on YouTube and on the online world, because I know how good they've gotten at the dynamic processing. This is not frame-by-frame dynamic tone mapping. This is just manipulating contrast and gamma on the fly. So it is faking it. Yes, it's faking it, but they're doing a pretty darn good job. It's hilarious because the very same people who are critical of the LS 9000 are praising that Valerian Vision Master Max or whatever it is. And it's the Vision Master only looks that good because they're faking it. They're doing a ton of gamma and dynamic contrast manipulation on that Valerian, and everyone's like, oh, it's almost a JVC, but the Epson can't possibly look any good because it has lower native panel contrast. Its native panel contrast is still higher than a DLP. What are you talking about? I don't know. I don't understand YouTube people. But I will just say, I think all things considered, a refurbished LS 12,000 is probably your personal best choice. I think you'd be really happy with it too.
So should he replace his DIY screen, it would need to remain the same size, and it would still need to be aspect ratio to physically fit in the room, and it would still need to be acoustically transparent. Would a silver ticket or elite screens option be a big upgrade, or should he still just stick with the screen he made himself? I'm sorry, I hit the microphone, so that's number one. I'll tell you what I would do.
Okay.
And this is not necessarily the best advice, but this is the advice that I would follow. Okay. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know what performance you're actually getting. Yeah. And I am concerned that when you get a brighter projector with HDR, you might start to notice problems with your screen that you did not notice before. But I mean, I don't know what spandex material means either. I mean, how glossy is it? He says it's 0.7, so it sounds like it's more matte.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got that 0.7 number from either, though. So I'm a little skeptical.
I mean,
of
that's
that.
almost certainly he chose a material that's been recommended on AVS Forum, and there are other people on AVS Forum with the ability to actually genuinely measure the gain of the screen. So it's almost certainly that type of situation.
As long as it's not like hot spotting or
no, I mean there
warping
are
or whatever
spandex materials that work very nicely as a screen. So I don't think I'm not personally going to say that you need to upgrade this screen. If you go with the refurbished LS12000, it is brighter than your current projector. If you were already happy with the light out of your current projector, there's not really any chance you are going to be unhappy with the light output of an LS12000. So I don't think take the money that you might have spent on a screen and just use that to offset the slightly higher cost of the LS12000. I think that's the choice here.
Yeah. Jack and Greg. Jack got a kick out of the Technology Connections 3-tube CRT projector explanation video, and thought some of our other listeners might enjoy it too. So there's a YouTube link that we'll have in our show notes.
Yeah, it's Technology Connections is the YouTube channel, and he did a fun exploration of the old 3-tube CRT projector.
I remember those things.
Yeah.
Greg also saw the same video and was curious to hear our opinions about it. I didn't watch it. I did see the emails talking about it, and I was like, I've been a little bit on the busy side. I don't know if you guys have
and it is like a 25-minute, half-hour video. That's something close.
And I've got no problems watching stuff like that. It's just, So for those of you who don't remember, maybe you weren't alive, but there used to be CRT projectors, especially like the standalone. Remember those standalone ones where the thing would come out the front? There was like a front projection TV almost, and it would it would look like a big old cabinet with a screen attached to it.
And there were definitely ones that were like set up with mirrors to be either rear projection or like the projector's actually firing forward, but then it goes off a mirror to get up to the screen.
Goes up to the screen, and there'd be like 3 big lenses in it.
There sure are.
They'd be different color. You could
if
see
you were ever
yellow,
wondering
red,
how the primary
blue.
colors of light work, there's your red, green, blue right there staring you in the face.
So I remember those things, and they were monstrous. I mean, just humongous. So go ahead, Rob. Give your opinions.
Well, it was kind of fun because they actually kind of prominently displayed one of these in season 2 of Severance. And so that was all just done for their sort of retro style that they have in their show. And because somebody obviously thought it was just kind of fun and cool to see the red, green, blue projector lamps on there, but it was being used. No, it was a fun video. It was well done. What I really liked is him pointing out how we haven't been looking at CRT displays in a while now. We've all gotten used to our LCD or OLED flat panels. If we're looking at projectors, those are going to be DLP or LCD or liquid crystal and silicon, and we've just gotten so used to them. So for him, the host of Technology Connections, just going back and seeing a CRT display full stop, he was just kind of like, they really did have good black levels. Black level was not a problem for CRT. Yeah. And he's like, and then of course, this being a CRT, it doesn't have any actual pixels. There is not a pixel grid. It was an electron beam scanning back and forth across phosphors. And in this case, 3 separate tubes. One of them is only producing red, one only green, and one only blue in this case. So unlike the old CRT tube television that you were used to, these are 3 separate CRT tubes. And here he's like, so, there were aspects of the image that he was producing that he's like, this is way better than I expected it to be. For it to be this old, he's like, I've got an LCD projector that the black levels are not as good as this. And if I'm close enough or blow the image up enough, I can see the screen door effect on that one. And this one, no matter what I did, there's no screen door effect because there are no separate pixels. He's just like, it was kind of surprisingly impressive. But then he did a good job of being like, oh my God, setting this thing up. Like, actually, not just putting it down and getting an image. Like, that happened pretty quickly. But to like actually dial it in so that the convergence of these 3 separate red, green, blue tubes.
There is a reason that we
correct.
were very often recommending custom calibration of your projectors back in the day, or even your TVs. Yep. The color correction that would go on in TVs was pretty significant.
You know, he was pointing out how like, so the whole thing about like warming up your electronics and letting them run in before you calibrate them and all that. He's like, oh, now that makes sense. Because he's like, you know, I started, you know, working on the convergence of this thing like 20 minutes after I powered it on. And he's like, why do I have to keep changing it over and over? He's like, oh, it takes like an hour and a half for this thing to settle after you turn it on. Yeah. It's like, otherwise it just keeps moving because the heat keeps expanding things as it warms up. And so it's just like, it's so finicky. He's like, you know, because he was kind of like, you know, given how good the black level was, given the lack of pixels, it's like, how did the early LCDs like completely obliterate these things? Like, as soon as the first LCD projectors existed, these were like dead. And he's like, you know, the LCDs the first ones weren't as good in some respects, but he's like, oh yeah, you can just pick it up and carry it around. You can focus it in about 5 seconds. Yeah. You can like use a zoom lens. Like, there's no zoom lens on this CRT projector. There were CRT projectors that had zoom lenses, but not the style that he was using. It's like, so everything is fixed. You have to like lock, like your screen and your projector have to be locked down to the fraction of a millimeter if you actually want text to look sharp. And then he's like, yeah, it's nowhere near as bright. It's clearly not portable. It uses way more power and generates way more heat. So it's like, you know, it was obvious why LCDs took over, but it was a fun video because he's like, yeah, it was kind of cool how there were aspects of this technology that we actually still haven't completely equaled. You know, like even the liquid crystal and silicon, black is not 100% black. That black backlight is always on. And the CRT, if the electron beam is not scanning a certain phosphor, it is black. It is dead black. And you're 100% just at the mercy of the ambient light in your room at that point. The projector itself is not putting out any light when it's truly black. So yeah, it was just, you know, he's like, there were actually some positive things there. Things we're still chasing after. But yeah, all in all, it's obvious why we're not using these anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, when the convergence got off on these things, man, you're like, you were in trouble.
Well, and the tubes aged and not at the same rate. The red, green, and blue aged at different rates, so your color points after a while would go out of like calibration. It was
some calibrators had work to do at all times,
and very legitimately so. That wasn't just obsessive compulsive worrying about stuff that isn't real. It's like, nope, those really did change over time. They really did warm up. They really did run in. Those things were real at the time.
Chris's TCL TV is all messed up. It's an official term.
Yeah,
it's
technical diagnosis right there.
Yeah. Essentially, only the top left quadrant is showing an image, plus a partial bit of the screen lit up in the bottom left quadrant. He is definitely going to contact TCL. Do we have any idea what could be wrong? He's tried toggling every setting he could access, but this is all his TV shows. Yeah, it's done been broken. That's a broken TV. There's electronics no longer working.
Like something on the processing board, because I doubt it's just the backlight on that one.
No, it's not that. Yeah, no. It's something else. It's like when my projector suddenly one half of the screen went squiggly.
Yep.
It was like,
yep.
It's into that.
That's in the electronics for sure. I mean, obviously the power supply is supplying some amount of power, and some part of the backlight is turning on, and you have this single quadrant in the upper left that is showing an actual image. But no, that's something on the motherboard in the video processing chip has gone. I would expect that this is repairable, like that this will be a motherboard swap, or it's TCL. In all likelihood, TCL is just going to give you a replacement TV of the same model, and just junk this one, because that's how TCL would do this sort of thing. But that's all this really could be. This is not something you did wrong in the user settings. That's for darn sure.
Ahmad, I guess that's how we say this. Ahmad. Anyways, he's in Saudi Arabia. He says he's a big fan of our podcast and has been a regular listener for over a year now, after finding Rob's Make MKV tutorial very helpful when he backed up his movie collection to play on his Dune HD 8K player. Okay, 8Ks.
Yeah, Dune is one of those alternatives to like Zidu. They do a similar thing. They can play. I mean, they're just a file playback device, right? So virtually any video file that you throw at it, a Dune can play.
There you go. Ahmed's home theater space is on the second floor, directly above the bedrooms in his house. The theater area is 15 by 18 by 9, but it's definitely not an enclosed space. There are large sliding glass doors on the left that go out to the terrace, and there's a room and the room is open to his office and home gym on the right side. Behind the TV is a slat wall partition, but those are aluminum posts with gaps in between them, and the staircase is just on the other side, so sound leaks freely downstairs right now. Back in 2022, he scored a crazy good deal on the 88-inch LZ Z1 8K resolution OLED, and he loves it. Okay. On the audio side of things, he's using a Denon X6700H receiver plus an Emotiva Bass Aux A7 amp. His floor-level speakers are all SVS Prime Series, Tower Center, and Satellites. His in-ceiling speakers are Outdoor Speaker Depot Black Series, which I don't remember the Black Series, but I'm sure they're very nice.
They're just, they're sort of the little bit higher end from Outdoor Speaker Depot, but yeah, that's what those are.
The photo he sent, he's got two SVS PB1000 Pro subs on the SVS Sound Path isolation feet, one in the front left and one in the rear right of the theater area. But he actually has four PB1000 Pro subs now, one in each corner of the theater area.
Yeah, sources so the photos are just a little bit old is all.
Older, yeah, got it. I like that couch too. That lighter color is very nice. Sources are his Dune HD player, Apple TV 4K for streaming, satellite TV box, and a PS5 Pro. So we're looking at some stuff. This surrounds are on stands. Mm-hmm. Looks like the floor is tile or hardwood or something. It's hard to tell what that is.
Certainly not a hard floor surface, whether that's laminate or actual hardwood or vinyl plank or something, but it's not carpet anyway.
He's got some sort of wire tracks on the floor to bring that around, which is nice. And this center channel is basically inside of a cabinet. I mean,
that's the actual stand on that 88-inch 8K, the LG 88-inch 8K
it comes
TV.
With that stand?
That stand is incorporated. There's no way to wall mount that TV. That stand is just incorporated into it. Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
and he's got his electronics in there. That's fine. Blah, blah, blah,
yep.
Blah. Okay. As we can see in the photos, the space is pretty bare and reflective right now. And yes, it's pretty close to echoey. Dialogue intelligibility is not the greatest. He's got a thick carpet on the way. Hopefully that helps a little.
I mean, it won't hurt.
Your priorities, exactly. Not your priorities. Your expectations are set properly because a little is what's going to happen.
A very little, but it won't hurt. It'll help a little.
The main place where he's thinking of mounting acoustic panels is on the back wall. He really likes the idea of getting custom artwork printed on the panels so they double as decoration.
Yep.
He also has plans to get a whole bunch of sound isolation panels, like the actual sound blocking blankets.
Mm-hmm.
He's hoping that if he covers all the aluminum slats behind and to the left of his TV floor to ceiling, that will reduce the sound leaking downstairs, and he might actually be able to watch something at night without waking everybody up. Well, I've got some bad news.
Yeah. We're talking about the thing we just mentioned about the sound blocking blankets. Again, I'm not going to say it'll make zero difference.
It won't make zero difference.
It'll make some difference, but I mean, you've got an open stairway. So even if you took down those aluminum slats and replaced it with a soundproof constructed wall, unless you also have a door that blocks off the stairway, sound is getting downstairs to those bedrooms that are directly below this room. So yeah, I mean, like we're saying, imagine that you put up, I mean, if you're putting up the sound barrier blankets floor to ceiling across those aluminum slats that are there right now, that's akin to just putting up a regular 1/2-inch drywall wall. Which is not nothing. That'll change the amount of sound that gets downstairs, but I don't think it's going to be enough to put this on at movie theater levels and not wake up anybody directly below you.
Right. So what do we think of his plans for the acoustics? Will panels on the back wall be a help or just a waste of money since they won't be at the first reflection points? They will be a help.
Those will be a help.
Those will help with the dialogue intelligibility more than you might expect.
Yeah, because the seat
slap echo is what's really getting you.
Yeah, he's got a reasonable amount. He's got a walkway behind the seats. But, the seats are close enough to the back wall that you're definitely getting, strong first reflections from the back wall that are making it back to your ears. No seat backs. I mean, seat backs, but not high seat backs. Nothing behind his head. No headrest on the seats that he's using there. So you are definitely getting reflections off that back wall. And if you can get ones that double as decoration, because that's a pretty bare looking back wall there right now. Having decoration on there makes all the sense aesthetically. And then if that's doubling as good, acoustic absorption on there, that's only going to be a benefit. And you need absorption in this room wherever you can put it. But the back wall is a terrific place to put that in this case. Also, I'm going to say that if you were already visually willing to put up sound barrier blankets over those aluminum slats behind the TV, then why can't you also have absorption panels that go on top of those blankets and provide more absorption in this room? Because front wall to reduce the speaker boundary effect is going to be beneficial, and then back wall, I mean, look, sidewall treatments don't make sense in here. You got a window on one side, you got open doors on the other side. But if you can treat the front wall and the back wall, that is definitely, like, acoustically speaking, okay? Not soundproofing, but acoustically speaking, for your experience in the theater seats, is going to be an improvement. Essentially thick as you can, you know. Whatever, this has
That's
to double as
question.
decoration.
If they're worth it, how thick and how many?
Yeah.
Floor to ceiling. As thick as possible,
you know, like
with a 2-inch air gap.
8 inches total thickness, which, you know, like we've talked about before, if you have 6 inches of actual insulation, then a 2-inch air gap behind that, that is like essentially exactly the same effectiveness as just 8 inches of pure insulation, no air gap. So 8 inches of total thickness would be kind of the ideal, but I would obviously understand if that is not an option aesthetically. Those are some very thick panels. But don't go less than 4 inches. You know, going less than 4 inches in here is kind of going to be, it's not nothing, but it's almost a waste. You know, like if you're going to do it, make it 4 inches, ideally 8 inches if you could. If you can land on 5.5, 6 inches, something like that, terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should he worry at all about getting diffusion panels?
No.
Should he put panels on the ceiling?
I mean, I guess we could start to explain, but we really don't need to. You've got enough reflection in this room that you do not need a scenario where you are mildly reducing some of the treble, not as much as an absorption panel would, but just slightly more than a flat wall does, because that's all a diffusion panel does. It just slightly reduces high treble. It's like you're gonna put a rug in here that's gonna do as much as any diffusion panel would in this room. So that's it. You don't need diffusion panels. Yeah.
Should he put panels on the ceiling? I mean, that you didn't mention that before, but yes. I mean, I usually say no, but in this case, anything is, you really need anything in here.
Again, the issue is, you know, putting it on this ceiling, how thick can you actually go?
Yeah.
Because if it's only going to be 2 inches thick, I'm like, it's not that would do nothing, but I'm almost at the point of 2-inch thick panels on your ceiling is more hassle than it's worth.
Yeah.
And then 4 inches or thicker on the ceiling often just looks strange. And 8 inches obviously would look bizarre hanging down from your ceiling. So that's one where I'm like, I would let aesthetics dominate your decision on that. But if you're like, I can legitimately put some 4-inch thick panels, maybe you just have them colored white and they go directly above your seats or something like that, you know, in between your top front and top rear in ceiling speakers. Like if you're willing aesthetically to do that, it is only going to be a help. It won't be a harm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of that question. Next question. Since his Denon X6700H only has 2 subwoofer outputs, he now has 4 PP1000 Pros. He went ahead and bought a mini DSP 2x4 HD in order to connect all the 4 subs. Mm-hmm. Didn't need to, but go on. With his previous 2 subwoofer setup, he just used Odyssey Editor app plus Odyssey One software from Obsessive Compulsive Audiophiles. He was really happy with those results. Mm-hmm. But now with 4 subs, he's watched a ton of Room EQ Wizard and multi-sub optimizer tutorial videos, and it looks kind of complicated. He's wishing he could use DRAC Live bass control instead, but his Denon does not support that, and he isn't really looking to upgrade to the 6800H yet.
That's a fair amount of money to do that upgrade for sure. Yeah. Plus just the cost for DRAC is not nothing either on top of it.
Yeah, and you know you're going to go for art eventually.
Right.
So what's our recommendation for calibrating his 4 subwoofer setup now in terms of physical placement? Would it be better for the 2 subs at the front of his setup to go on the inside of his tower speakers on the outsides? Since your room is not enclosed, it's nigh impossible for us to really know where the best place to put your subwoofers are.
That said, as spread out as possible is the rule of thumb. So outside of the two front speakers would be closer to as spread out as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, to the insides is almost becoming co-located at frequencies of about 70 hertz and lower. So, if you can spread them wider apart, that part is easy. I would, if the option is to put them to the outsides, I'd put them to the outsides.
Yeah. As far as, setting them up and doing the calibration and everything, you've got access to more stuff than most people do. Most people aren't using Room EQ Wizard. Most people really aren't doing anything other than trying to let Odyssey do its thing. And even then, a lot of them run Odyssey, don't like it, turn it off because they didn't really do it right to begin with.
I mean, in this case, you really can just use the multi-sub optimizer software, and you don't need anything else. You would use Room EQ Wizard to confirm the results, but it's not a necessity of running it. The multi-sub optimizer is kind of ideal for this 4 identical sub setup that you have, and you already own the mini DSP 2x4 HD. So honestly, I mean, the thing I think that just throws people is to use multi-sub optimizer optimally, you just have to take a lot of measurements, but it's just repetition. It's not actually like every measurement is a new thing you need to learn. You just need to do it over and over and over again with the microphone in multiple different positions, because multi-sub optimizer essentially just collects what is the measurement from each of the 4 subwoofers individually. That's really all it's going to be doing. So you're just going to be measuring one subwoofer at a time, but in multiple microphone locations. But that is purely just repetition. And once you have all those measurements collected, it does all the number crunching. It spits out a single EQ file that just gets uploaded to the mini DSP. The multi-sub optimizer software already has everything built in necessary to do that uploading to the mini DSP. They're designed to work together. So I mean, I totally agree with you. It looks really like complicated, and it is tedious. The tedium is real, but that one looks more complicated than it is. And especially if you're going into the really in-depth tutorials, because they're covering scenarios that you don't actually have. In a way, even though you have 4 subwoofers, you have one of the simpler scenarios to deal with, because you have 4 identical subs that are spread out in your room, and all you need to do is collect their measurements and let the thing do its thing. You're not dealing with all the other scenarios that the in-depth tutorials go into when you're dealing with an odd number of subwoofers, or completely odd positioning, or different subs in each position, or you're trying to use multi-sub optimizer to combine the speaker output with the subwoofer. Like, you're just doing 4 subs, 4 identical subs spread to the 4 corners of your area. That's actually the simplest scenario for you to work with. So I think multi-sub optimizer makes a ton of sense. Now, we mentioned all of this. I mean, we have to kind of, the problem is we don't know how well Dirac Art actually works, in person yet. We've got a few little early reports that are saying, hey, in a challenging acoustic environment, it actually does better than in a really well-treated, dedicated enclosed rectangle of a room. You have the challenging acoustic environment. There's a chance that Dirac Art might be a higher value than spending the money on all the acoustic panels. That's not utterly out of the question. It's just we don't feel super comfortable going that is absolutely what you should do, because we don't know for sure, not having used it in person yet. It's just that the notion of, hey, spending the money to upgrade to a 6800H and paying the $800 US more to add Dirac Live Art onto that. It's like, you take that whole price and how much were you going to spend on acoustic treatments? Maybe the value could be there. I don't want to dismiss that, because I also can't confirm the other direction and say it's totally not worth it. It might be at actually darn good value in your scenario. And in that case, you would have Dirac Live bass control that comes along with it, and you wouldn't even need the mini DSP 2x4 HD, and you wouldn't even need the multi-sub optimizer software. It would all run within Dirac, and maybe that time saving could definitely be worth it to you. So maybe the value really is there. The one thing Dirac Art definitely cannot do anything about, though, is the soundproofing, the actual reduction of sound getting downstairs. That would still be up to you to handle in some other way. And like we say, it's only going to be, a minor improvement. It's not going to be enough to play movies loud at night and not wake anybody up downstairs.
Yeah, that's like you said, it's a minor. The big thing I would have recommended if you if you hadn't already done it, was get the sound isolation feed. But you've already got that. And this is just pure, there's not enough
I mean, there is
isolation.
actual air that's allowed to move to downstairs. So
well, you can't really do anything about that.
But I mean, overall, what a nice, like, aesthetically pleasing setup this is to me. I think this is really nice looking that you've done in here. And to me,
I like that slat wall too. I do.
Yeah, even if you got Direct Live Art, I would still put some panels on that back wall, just because visually that back wall looks kind of bare to me right now. And I'd love to have, some decoration on there. And if I'm going to put decoration on my wall, it is also going to double as an acoustic panel, no ifs, ands, or buts.
James in the UK. So Rob has said several times now that Dolby Atmos soundtracks don't play anything out of the front wide speakers unless the mix specifically encodes sounds to come from those locations. That is true with specific processors and not necessarily true with other ones, but we'll get to that. But wasn't the whole idea of Atmos is that the speaker had the system to adapt to make the best use of all the available speakers? Atmos is supposed to be object-based, right? And if the sounds have 3D coordinates, wouldn't any sound that pans from the fronts to the surrounds or vice versa automatically make use of the front wide speakers? Was Dolby stretching the truth, or has Rob been mistaken about the lack of front wide utilization? So, like I just said, there's how Atmos and the processing is done within specific processors is not the same. It's not uniform.
That's more to do with the Dolby Surround Up mixer, though, which does come into this. If we're talking about, it's like I've got a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, and that is being decoded and played back by my system. What's at issue here is that Dolby Atmos is a combination of a channel-based and an object-based system. The option exists to have a Dolby Atmos soundtrack that has no audio objects whatsoever. That is just 100% channel-based. Or we've seen quite a few Dolby Atmos mixes where the object metadata has been used to essentially make some sounds act exactly like they were channels instead of objects. So they just have a fixed 3D coordinate position that is encoded as an audio object, but there is no movement metadata in that object. It's a fixed set of 3D coordinates, and then they just mix it as though it were another speaker channel. So if they want the illusion that sounds are moving from left to right, they just play with the relative volume and phase between the left and right positions that they've like hard locked to a 3D set of coordinates, rather than utilizing the ability of those objects to have changing 3D coordinates so that the audio object itself moves back and forth. So the reason why there are lots of Dolby Atmos soundtracks where your front wide speakers never ever make a peep is because many Atmos soundtracks don't use any object encoded data in the floor level speakers. They just encode the 7 or 5 floor level speakers as channels, and that's not faking it. That's not objects acting like channels. Those are actual channels, because Atmos can be encoded as channels or objects. So there are many mixes where it's just like, yep, I've got 5 or 7 floor level speakers. I mix those the way I always did. If I want a sound to pan from the front left to the surround left, I just change the relative volume and phase between the front left and the surround left. I never use an audio object to create that audio illusion of the sound panning its position. And therefore, the front wide speaker never makes a peep. It'll only make a peep if it is an audio object, and it'll further only make a peep if they actually use the 3D coordinate manipulation version of the object, rather than, like many have the 4 overhead speakers, as if they were channels. They just lock those 3D positions and still just use relative volume and phase between those positions, rather than actually panning the 3D object data. What Tom was referring to is the Dolby Surround Up mixer. The original version that came out never put a sound into the front wides in the Up mixer version. Dolby later updated that so that the Dolby Surround Up mixer could utilize front wide speakers, but not every AV receiver and pre-pro upgraded to that new version that could do that. So that's the issue, where you can buy ones there and you're like, yeah, when I'm using the Dolby Surround Up mixer, it doesn't matter what's going on, I never hear anything out of my front wide speakers, and that can certainly be the case.
Jason decided to follow our advice regarding his dual subwoofer upgrade. He went to Summit Hi-Fi, since he's a Canadian, and bought himself 2 of the ToneWinner SWD4000 ported subs to replace his pair of older Velodyne DSP-12 subs. As we might recall,
yeah, those came nicely packaged. They were double boxed inside there. They had good carrying handles on the outside, so they did a good job packaging those up. It is cardboard boxes, but you got a pair of the D4000s from ToneWinner.
Yeah. So, as we might recall, the sub at the front of his room needed to physically fit within the cubby space below his TV and center speaker. Thankfully, the listed dimensions for the ToneWinner subs were correct, and it fits like a glove. Oh, I'm scrolling. Oh, yep. There it is. Actually fits better than the other one. I mean, it fills it up more, I guess.
Yeah, he took a before and an after, and yeah, it looks like that cubby was purpose-built for the D4000 sub. Yeah, it is laying on its side, though, as we'll mention in a second.
Just pull that little logo off. I'm sure it's just kind of stuck in there with like something. Anyways, so he went with our suggestion to turn the front sub on its side, and even though he thought he wouldn't like the look beforehand, after seeing the new sub in place, he doesn't mind much at all. So that worked out nice. I think it looks better on almost every aspect, except for the logo being to the left.
Yeah.
The sub at the back of the room is also out of the rear right corner, positioned in the middle of the back wall instead. He actually has 2 rows of seats in this room, but he mainly cares about the front 3 seats, so the 2 subs are nearly equidistant from the front row, and he focused his new measurements in those locations. It is best to follow Rob's 12-step guide to dual subwoofer setup. As noted previously, the ToneWinner subs allow you to adjust the phase in 10-degree increments via the app, but the range only goes from 0 to 180 degrees, so you have to use the polarity switch in combination with the phase adjustment to get the full 360. He hasn't touched the polarity switch yet. I mean, these subs are equidistant from the seats that you care about. And
pretty darn close. Yeah.
They are the middle front wall, middle back wall. I don't think you need to touch the phase switches, but whatever. I mean, not the polarity switch or the phase adjustment. So he measured in all 3 seats, and he tried all of the phase settings from 0 to 180 degrees on the front subwoofer via the app. Right away, it was obvious that the new subs do indeed play right down to 20 hertz, which is something his Velodynes could never do. He also found there was a dip in the frequency, in a single frequency below 100 hertz. But it's higher now, around 90 hertz instead of 75, like he used to have his Velodynes. And the dip is not quite severe, though it's still about 10 dB below most of the rest of the frequency sweep. And this is all prior to running Odyssey.
Yeah, so in the initial measurements, it is showing like something closer to a 60 hertz dip here when he was going across his seats here. But yeah, after Odyssey, we'll see the 90 hertz dip that he's talking about. We'll focus on the before Odyssey right now, because this was just him going through all of the various 10-degree increments from 0 to 180, and it's like, yeah, those lines are superimposed for all intents and purposes. Any differences in those lines are more likely to be just variations in the mic response from moment to moment, because the shape of these graphs is not changing at all. No, they are very much, close to superimposed there. So, I mean, what that indicates is that, the positioning in an enclosed rectangle of a room has done exactly what we would hope and expect for it to do. Given that you're middle of the front wall, middle of the back wall in an enclosed rectangle of a room, the alteration of the phase relative to one another is not really doing anything, because the only thing existed here is a standing wave. You're not getting what would you call it? Like inconsistent wave pattern from seat to seat. You're getting exceedingly consistent wave pattern from seat to seat, which is exactly what we hope for. And then look at that dip that's showing up there. That is a 6 decibel dip. I mean, I know if you go to the peak at 100 hertz to the absolute lowest that it gets at 60 hertz, okay, maybe that's 10 or 11
but
dB.
We only really care about 80 down, so this is a plus or minus 3 dB if you put a line between them.
That's just it. You can easily pull down the little bit that's happening at 100 hertz. That's very easy to EQ correct. And then when the dip that you're seeing is like 4 or 5 or 6 decibel dip, that's not a full-on cancellation. That is EQable. That is some sound wave interaction that's going on there, but that is EQable. So this is actually really good response. I wouldn't worry one iota of going further in the 12-step guide at all. You have achieved the main thing, which is that from seat to seat to seat, you've got, we can see the graphs where he's like, okay, he went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and he's like, when the phase was set to 10 or 130, those had the absolute fewest dips, and 10 was the very best. But it's like, look at the difference from left seat to center seat to right seat. It's like really similar shapes, almost superimposed.
Yeah, that's what you want. And this means that Odyssey can do its thing, or Drac, or whatever you're
That's
using.
right.
So as we can see from in each of the 3 seats, changing the phase setting from the front sub essentially made a difference. Yeah. And then from seat to seat, there's a small difference, but the overall shape of across all 3 seats is very similar, which is Rob just said.
Sure is, yeah.
He examined things very carefully, decided on using the 10-degree phase setting, and as it produces the smallest dips, including above 100. But does he need to check any further? Should he flip the polarity switch and examine all the 10-degree phase angles? Oh my God, my dude. Go ahead.
If you want to torture yourself, but don't expect it to be... Well, actually, it could be way worse. You could actually just, from it being 180 degrees out of phase, that could just muck things up. But all you would do is, at best, get back to where you are.
So also, why would the one dip that consistently shows up below 100 hertz have changed from 75 hertz with his Velodynes to 90 hertz with the ToneWinners? He's not complaining, that's for sure, but he's just curious why that would have happened. Didn't he move one of the subs? Wasn't the other Velodyne?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he was using the Velodyne in the middle of the back wall as well. But if it was in the rear corner, as we would see before, that could certainly explain it. The changing of the position. But even if previously both of your Velodyne subs were middle of the front wall, middle of the back wall, you have actually changed the relative locations of not just the drivers, but you've added ports and you've added front ports at that. And front ports are actually out of phase with the driver. It doesn't really matter very much at super low bass frequencies where the ports are contributing, but you have changed the positioning of the subs relative to each other necessarily, just because these new subs are considerably bigger and they've added front ports, so that output is being added to things as well. So that could easily explain the change where that dip is happening.
So naturally, after deciding on the initial phase setting to work with, you ran Odyssey. The frequency response definitely came out much flatter and more extended. So you can see it here.
We can see the Velodyne before, so we're seeing a clear roll-off that's starting at about 40 hertz, and then that big old problematic audible dip he was getting at 80 hertz, right at the crossover frequency. But now the new one, this is after running EQ, so yeah, we had that dip at 60 hertz before. It's not literally eliminated in the after measurement, but oh boy, is that within plus minus 1 dB at this point. And then here's the 90 hertz sort of dB dip that we're showing. Now, I'm thinking, if you set this with an 80 hertz crossover, is that just the beginning of the crossover that we're seeing? Like that 90 hertz that's going down, we're just seeing the natural, because I mean, Odyssey completely took. I mean, this is real. This is the REQ measurement. This is or REW measurement. This is not the after projection graph from Odyssey itself. It's measured in that 100 hertz bit of a hump that had easily. It took that out. That's gone, completely gone. The 60 hertz little dip is essentially completely filled in. And this is again left versus center versus right, and those lines are almost completely perfectly superimposed over. This is fantastic response that you've achieved. Now, certainly, if you're hey, I would like to add a bit of a gradual rise as it goes down towards 20 hertz, follow the Harman, recommendations.
That's what the Odyssey editor app is for.
And you don't even have to remeasure. You can just draw that curve for yourself. It'll calculate, re-upload, and you'll have that response. Because these subs are having no problem playing down to 20 hertz. Look at the difference between the subs you used to have and that very obvious roll-off. And that was Odyssey doing its best to make that a flat line. That's as much as it could do. The 80 hertz dip is gone. The 60 hertz very small dip prior to EQ is gone. The 100 hertz hump is gone, and those things are extending beautifully down to, that looks like 18 hertz to me.
Yeah, it does look that way to me too. I'm scrolling. So is this as good as it's going to get, or should he invest even more tedium? How much better do you want, my man? Tell you what, I'm going to install some shelves. I'm hoping they're going to be this level.
Right.
If the line of my shelves is this flat,
right,
I will be happy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else you want out of life, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, certainly if you want to change the target curve, that I'm all for that. And that is, like I say, that's as simple as drawing whatever shape you want in the Odyssey editor app, letting it recalculate and upload. You don't even have to remeasure for that part. So that you can play to your heart's content. So I mean. Yeah, well, I'll let you read the final bit of the question there, but that's...
So he asks, how worried should he be about the large dips above 100 hertz? Those are outright cancellations, aren't they? But they're above the crossover frequency, so is there even anything to be done about them when only looking at the response from the pair of subs? You've identified the fact that yes, there's going to be a dip above the crossover frequency when you're only measuring your subwoofers.
That's
so
right.
Yes. And the single dip that's around 90 hertz, anything to be done about that, again, above the crossover frequency. It's looking so close to perfection below 100 hertz that would just please his brain to finally see that dip disappear. Any ideas? Yeah, play all your speakers at the same, play your front, left, and right speakers and your subs at the same time. And
That's
see what you
right.
get.
Measure the two subs together with the speaker. Now, when you do that, it is entirely possible in that crossover region.
I have a better idea. Rerun the graph, but limit it to 80 hertz and down.
Yeah, or change the smoothing, because I'll bet the smoothing wiggles most of that
cut
out of
off
there too.
every frequency above 80 hertz and look at that line, because that line will make your brain very happy.
But
and you only that's right, 1/3 octave of smoothing, and it's going to look like a ruler.
Yes, realistically, when you do play, let's say you play my front left speaker or my front left and right together, but one speaker at a time. I play my front left speaker plus my two subs, right? So true full range, and you do that measurement. It is very possible that you will see either a dip or a hump right in the crossover region, because now you have more than just your subs producing sound in this room. You have that speaker producing sound in this room as well. And so that is the thing, like that 90 hertz, that is squarely in the crossover region.
Yeah.
And there is no reason why speaker plus dual subwoofers can't result in 90 hertz being completely evened out, because now you have three sound producing things all making sound at 90 hertz. They're going to be. Now, that might require some playing around with lowering or raising the crossover frequency to the speaker. That can certainly make a difference. And then the part that throws people is, in your case, like he said, he followed the 12-step guide. So I'm assuming he's using a Y splitter. He's using a single subwoofer output. And this is where there could be it's basically just going to be trial and error. We know you're not opposed to taking measurements to confirm. So some trial and error of altering the distance setting for that single subwoofer output, because the tape measure distance does not matter. What matters is the relative phase between the speaker and the dual subwoofers, which are acting together as one thing. So you can alter the distance setting of the single subwoofer output. Like, let's say you find that there's you play the speaker together with these subs, and the dip at 90 to 100 hertz gets worse. I would want to improve that, right? I don't want an audible dip in there, but that is going to be, hey, I've got the distances for my speakers set pretty much optimally, because that's all about imaging and timing. That's actual high frequency information where the imaging and timing makes a difference. It's important for that to be right. So I'm not going to touch the distance setting for the speakers, but I can play with that distance setting for the subwoofer, and I can get it so that the relative phase between the speaker and the dual subs acting together works to fill in that crossover region if there's a dip, or to reduce that crossover region if there's a big old hump. So don't be afraid to play with the distance setting, the single distance setting for the single subwoofer output on the AV receiver that you're using, and that can all be done after the fact, and you can confirm with REW, and that should please your brain.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or just stop looking at it. Nick got some of the Audio Advice Revelation luxury recliners. He loved them so far. He's about 6'3", and his wife is 5'0". 5 foot.
That is a difference in height.
That's slight. And it's always been challenging to find seating that is comfortable for both of them, but these recliners seem to have done it. My wife and I are within an inch of each other.
There you go.
And all of our children are like 3+ inches taller than us. It's so weird.
How did that happen?
I don't know. But I don't know. If it weren't for my middle son, who is got every bit of my personality, I would say that there's some shenanigans were afoot. But
your kids do look like a mix of you and your wife, though. So
it's pretty.
That's you and your wife combined in those kids.
There's no doubt about it.
So I'm guessing that the men in your wife's family are taller, or are you just like unusually short in your family?
Nope. Okay. I have one tall uncle.
So I'm guessing the men in your wife's family are taller.
Well, I don't know. Anyways, so they're power recliners, so of course they have power cords, and since they're in the middle of his basement home theater, he had to run an extension cord on top of his Berber carpet. He found a thin, flat extension cord that is only rated for up to 10 amps, not 12 or 15. But that should be okay with nothing other than recliners plugged into it, right? He wants to put a rug on top of the extension cord to conceal it and reduce tripping hazard. He'd like the rug to be relatively thick. He's got carpet in here already, though, right?
He's already got carpet, yeah.
So he's going to put a thick rug on top of his carpet.
Yes, because it's wall-to-wall carpet, but right now there's an extension cord and power cords on top of the carpet. So he's like, he wants to put a thick rug over that. I guess when he walks on the rug, he doesn't want to feel the cords underneath.
I understand that. So he'd like the rug to be relatively thick. Is there a certain type of material that the rug should be in order to avoid any issues with potential mold growth? Since this is a basement, after all. Is it not AC? Is it not climate controlled down there? Are we worried about mold underneath between carpets?
Yeah, on top of existing carpet. Yeah, because look, you wouldn't want to buy a wool rug, right? For anything that might be a humid environment. So,
well, everything in Florida is humid, so I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, the simple answer is you want a synthetic fiber. You either want a plastic fiber, that being polypropylene or polyester.
This question took so many turns. Like I did not know where this was going at any point. I definitely, if at the beginning of the question. What would the ultimate question be? Right. Mold would never have come into it for me. Like, how did we get to mold? Like, I am thrown over here.
Well, the extension cord thing being a 10 amp extension cord, totally fine if all that's plugged into it is the recliners. They're not using if they went over 7 amps, I'd be absolutely shocked. So no problem as far as that goes. And then you just want synthetic fiber for the rug. So like I say, either one of the plastics, polypropylene or polyester, or nylon.
The carpet, regular carpet. Why doesn't he just run it under the regular carpet?
I guess he doesn't want to pull anything up.
Well, I mean, he can pay somebody. For the cost of the rug he's going to put on top of his carpet, which sounds strange to me.
I mean, maybe he's hoping
all
that
you need is somebody to pull up the rug, to run to the carpet, to cut like a little slot in the what do you call that? The tack strip on the edge, so that you're not impaling the extension cord. Run the extension cord or whatever. Maybe you need an electrician. I don't know. I don't think you should. Run it underneath there and then poke a hole in the carpet to have it come up underneath the recliners. I feel like you could actually cut a little slot in, because there's going to be a pad underneath the carpet, right? That the carpet sits on top of. So you cut a very small, shallow, just wide enough or thick enough or deep enough for the extension cord, cut that, slice that out, and then just run the extension cord underneath the carpet. Invisible, you can't feel it, and probably costs less than a rug.
Could be.
Right?
Maybe he's hoping that the thick rug will be some acoustic treatment on top of things.
It's not going to be, but okay.
Not very much. Not over a carpet if it's already got a carpet pad. It's not going to make much of a difference there.
I don't know that this is that's a legal way of doing this. Maybe you need something else.
Or maybe he just wants the ability to easily move things around, which, a rug over an extension cord is very easy to change in the future if you wanted to. So, polyester carpets, acoustically speaking, would probably be the closest to a natural fiber, but don't polyester carpets always get staticky? Isn't that the one that's really... I mean, nylon does too, right? Nylon gets very staticky.
If he's worried about mold and you're saying that it's because of humidity, let me tell you something about that. We do not have static electricity in Florida. It exists, but it's really uncommon. Whereas when I lived in California, all summer long, all I did was walk around with my keys in my hand so I could release the static electricity before I touched anything metal. So here, that almost never happens. Occasionally when clothes come out of a dryer, they'll be a little staticky, but you could see lightning in California if you didn't put some sort of anti-static thing in there. The thing would come out looking like a supervillain in a Spider-Man cartoon.
But I'm thinking, just if static is a thing, like polypropylene should be pretty static resistant. So I guess if you want everything, look for a polypropylene rug.
All
there, I settled.
Whatever. I think my idea is better, but whatever. Adam has an update for us. He's had a chance to set up the Emotiva XMC2 16-channel pre-pro that AVRant listener Dan sold him for a great price a little while ago.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember this. So far, so good, he says. He's very satisfied with it, and it resolved the audio issues he was having with his old Outlaw Audio pre-pro.
Fantastic.
he did discover one quirk. HBO Max and Paramount Plus were freezing up on his Apple TV 4K whenever he would go to the next episode of a show, or sometimes just when launching those apps.
Mm-hmm.
At first, he thought it was automatic frame rate switching, but it turned out QMS, or HDMI Quick Media Switching, was turned on by default in Apple TV 4K setting. The Emotiva XMC2 doesn't support that, and thankfully, simply turning the QMS setting off in this Apple TV 4K got things working smoothly. Let me tell you something about the Apple TV 4K. That box is freaking weird. I like it as a whole. Yeah. I recommend it. I like it.
Yeah, and then compared to all the other streaming devices, for streaming purposes, it pretty much comes out on top. Yeah.
I don't understand why Twitch constantly breaks. Like, the app will work once, and then if I switch off the app and switch back to it, I have to like delete the app and
I mean, I'm going to blame Amazon since they hate Apple, but there you go.
The other thing, though, is YouTube, right? YouTube, when I start YouTube, it consistently starts the same episode or same video I was watching like 3 weeks ago.
Sure.
It starts at the last 10 seconds of the video consistently. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why it defaults to that. I could understand if it defaulted to the last thing I was watching.
Sure.
That makes a little bit of sense. This makes I can't make it not do it. It just keeps doing it. I just keep going back.
Something in that cache is just stuck.
It's so weird. But anyways. So the only thing he has a minor quibble with is the Emotiva remote. That thing is a clunker, he says. Clunker. I mean, they tend to be kind of chonky and utilitarian, and
it's pretty heavy too. The Emotiva remote was pretty heavy. It's got some heft to it. I just want to comment that quick media switching. I mean, the whole idea was supposed to be no more black interstitials, right? You switch from app to app, frame rate to frame rate, HDR to SDR, whatever it might be, and the quick media switching, which is an HDMI 2.1 spec feature, was supposed to be like, hey, no more of that. The screen goes black for a few seconds until it comes back up with the refreshed HDR or SDR or different frame rate or whatever it might be, different resolution. It was all supposed to happen seamlessly. And it's like, that was the cause of the problem. Everything was working fine as long as you turn that off and just let the apps launch normally and you let there be a black interstitial screen in between episodes. So fantastic. Just the way HDMI was always designed to work.
Poorly, exactly. He already has a reasonable workaround since the Emotiva app works nicely, so he can control the pre-pro from his phone now. Mm-hmm. So these days, he's mostly just using his Apple TV 4K along with the Emotiva XMC2 and his TCL R635 TV. Any reason to think a Sofabaton X1S would have any problems acting as a universal remote for these three pieces of equipment? The only one that I would double check would be the Emotiva, and I think that's not going to be a problem. So the other two certainly won't be an issue. But the Emotiva would be the only one I would spend literally 10 seconds probably finding. And how is it that Reddit has become my most trusted source of information these days? It's awful.
I mean, it's actual Google searches only source for anything apparently anymore. As well.
And I search and it's like AI overview. No, thank you. No, thank you. Because I've seen your AI overviews and they are laced with inaccuracies.
Exactly. Because it's right there, I can't help but peruse the AI overview, but I always feel like I have got to double check that because I don't know if that's right or not, and it can be a starting point, but there you go. I don't anticipate there being any problems, especially those three devices with the Sofabaton, because anything that does work off of a Bluetooth or infrared connection, which is all of those devices you just mentioned. Sofabaton works very well. The only thing I would mention is, hey, let's see if that X2 really does come out and become reality, because personally, I would prefer to use that touchscreen setup. But of course, if price is the number one consideration, then the X1S does cost less than the X2. What do they have that X1S priced at right now? $200 instead of $330. So there you go. But we talked about that in the news at the top, so that's the only other thing I would consider. Yeah,
anything with the IR. I mean, especially the Emotiva, which is just going to be
that's going to be IR for sure.
What commands are you setting it? On, off, and input.
Volume up and down.
Yes, and volume. And you can teach the remote those things if you had to. the rest of it. You know,
The
you
other
would never
two-
want to use it's always hard to use a universal remote to do like the fine controls of a device like this, like going into even with my Harmony, going into the Denon's menus to like change settings or whatever. It's always some sort of the commands are all given in alphabetical order, and you're like scrolling through.
I mean, you
like
can manually move that around, but yeah. I will just say, when you're setting up a Bluetooth remote, like with the Sofabaton to control a Bluetooth device, like the Apple TV 4K, and in your case, the TCL R635, since that was back when TCL was all Roku, so it had the Roku remote, which was Bluetooth connection as well. With the Sofabaton, when you're setting that up, don't search for your device and then set up the Sofabaton based on having searched for your device. Instead, go into the Bluetooth section and choose either Apple TV 4K or Roku from the Bluetooth section of the Sofabaton setup, because that works so much better than searching for the device and trying to go backwards that way. Because in the Harmony, we were used to just searching for the device, right? So if you're coming from Harmony, we were always used to search for the device and then choose the control method. In the Sofabaton software, it's the reverse. Choose the control method first and then find the device. That's just a tip if you've never set up a Sofabaton before.
All right. That's enough. We've only got a couple questions left. So who do we have left?
You don't want to get to Infinite Garys for this week?
No.
All right. So that leaves Infinite Gary and Dev. And we had one more because I'm scrolling down because there was a whole bunch of pictures with Devs. But Mosin as well. There we go. That's the three that we've got Mosin first up next week. Yeah.
All right. I want to thank our listeners from the week. I want to thank Dan for going to avrant.com and clicking on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link and sending us a PayPal donation, as well as our 127 Patreons over at patreon.com.
That is right, Dan. Thank you for that PayPal donation. And patreon.com/AVRant podcast is where you can go to set up an automatic monthly donation. So a big thanks to our 127 patrons over there.
Patrons. Yeah, I said Patreons.
Yeah.
Whatever. I want to thank Infinite Gary and Kurt for sending movie codes for me to test out. Don't worry, they all worked. You guys can use them now. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Infinite Gary, Kurt, thank you for sending those movie codes to Tom.
Yeah, and Saucy, thank you for offering to buy me the Crow Steelbook, which I'm very much looking forward to. I already sent you my address, so thank you, Saucy.
Okay, Saucy, thank you for that. Yes, he's clearly been listening. He knows it's your favorite movie, so that's a very nice offer. Thank you, Saucy.
And thank you, Jason, for giving me permission to use your photos on AV Gadgets.
That's right. Check out avgadgets.com for Tom and Andrew's writing over there. So, Jason, thanks for giving that permission.
We also got notes of gratitude for keeping the podcast going from Jason, Mosin, and Saucy. Thank you very much for thanking us.
Indeed. The names one more time were Jason, Mosin, and Saucy this week. So thank you so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask. You ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AVRant, I'm Tom Andrew.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.